Hello box setters, welcome to another instruction video, this time for the rugby posts and pitch stand that you can plonk your rugby paper toy on, and so it's presented all nicely. There you can see one that I made earlier, and something funny happened with the audio there, but anyway, we'll carry on. Yes, so there's another one that I've cut out earlier, all ready to be folded. All the pieces that we're going to cut out. There's the pitch and the post pads. We'll put all those to one side, and we'll start these instructions with cutting out all the bits and pieces off this sheet. And what I like to do is take off this side first and break down all the pieces so they're a bit more manageable to cut. So on that right hand side of the scissors, I'm going to trim right down that sort of almost middle bit, and leave the pitch to one side to cut the rest of it out first. But we've got a whole bunch of pieces here. We've got pads, those green things just to the left there. And then we've also got the 3 parts to the posts as well. So again, I've cut all the way across there. We can leave the pads to one side or the posts to one side to do later on. And we'll concentrate on just trimming around these little bits for the posts. And move any unnecessary paper to one side. And unnecessary paper to the other side. Just trimming those little unnecessary bits off the 2 pads that we need. Now you'll notice the cut lines that you might have, in this case the cut lines for this rugby kit are sort of a goldy, yellowy, orange. But you don't need to trim every single little bit of that off. You can leave a little bit of yellow and gold on there, and your paper toy will still sort of come together nicely. And here we're working on part of the post. This will be the crossbar of the rugby posts. And again, just follow the yellowy, orangey, goldy line, the thick line, the solid line rather than the dotted line. The dotted line is for folding, and the solid line for cutting. So we'll just trim up and around there. Keep your scissors nice and straight out in front of you, and turn the paper around the scissors. So top paper toy crafting tip to keep your scissors nice and straight. Depending on, obviously, I'm right-handed in this video, so use your non-cutting hand, which is my left hand, to move the paper around the scissors, and it's the opposite if you're left-handed. And we've just got a couple more bits to trim off there. There we go, so that's the bit that we need to one side, and just showing you there that I'm going to make a cut right down the middle of these 2 posts, the tall parts of the rugby posts on either side. That will hold up the crossbar, I guess. Take your time trimming around these corners and getting into those fiddly areas. You don't have to cut this out in the order that I'm doing it. But yeah, I also encourage you to sort of like cut and trim along, and you won't get lost along the way if you keep if you follow these instruction videos. You can see just there I cut a little. There's going to be sort of like a hole in both of these posts, which will become more obvious as to what it's needed for as we get to the folding and sticking stage. But yeah, you can just see sort of like just at the top of the scissors there, just sort of around where my knuckles are, there's going to be a little hole in both of these posts. and it's going to be where we slot our crossbar in. But before we get to that, we've got to finish cutting, and then we've got to do a bit of folding as well. But we'll get to the folding once we've cut this other post. Again, just move the paper around the scissors. Take your time, there's no rush. You can pause this video if you feel like you're getting behind a little bit, or scooch it forward a bit as well if you're cutting and crafting quicker than I am. There we go, there's the, I'm actually going right off the end with this cut. That's alright, you can do that. There's no, as long as you're cutting along all the cut lines that are on there, that's fine. And then knit back for, like I said, this is going to be the gap where we slot in the crossbar to both of those posts, so that the crossbar sort of floats in the middle. Just trim those tabs on the very end there. And then we'll be ready to fold and stick our posts together. So there we have both our long posts and our crossbar and our post pads. And now we'll just see there I'm pointing to, we've got some cuts to make in the middle. So we can't cut into the pitch to make those cuts. What we need is a cutting board or something that maybe a thick piece of cardboard. And I've got a craft knife here. It's very sharp, so if you've never used one before, then I would recommend getting somebody who has used one before to do the cuts for you or to help you with this. And we just make 2 cuts for that cross and 2 cuts for this cross. 1 cut goes across the other, and that's going to be where we the posts get stuck into the pitch. Nice and safe, and put the cap back on that craft knife, very sharp. But then what we can do is we can poke I'm going to poke my finger through the cuts that we made, so it goes all the way through to the other side. You can see there, I'm waggling my finger in the background. Same with that one as well, and that's because the posts are going to go all the way through there. And you don't need to make it too big at this stage. It's just got to be big enough, and the cut lines that I've made should be just about big enough to slide our posts through. However, back to our scissors. Let's trim around the pitch following those solid orangey gold lines. Move the paper around the scissors with your non-cutting hand. Keeps things nice and tidy and neat, and keep a nice neat tidy desk. Get rid of any paper that you don't need into a nice neat pile. And trimming along the front plate there of our rugby paper toy stand. Our front plate has and the back plate as well. It's the number 22 on for the year 2022, and the name Box Ed's Paper Crafts on there because it's the name of the craft. It's a Box Ed Paper Craft. And the template for this is exactly the same as the football/soccer and American football paper toy stand. There's a whole bunch and range of football, soccer, American football paper toys on my website that you can purchase and download and print and craft away to your heart's content. All sorts of different kits and sports are available at www.boxedspapercrafts.com. So go along and check them out, and there's hours of crafting fun to be had there. And of course, with this, with all the paper crafts actually, you get a black and white version, so that you can colour in if you want your own particular unique personalised colours for the pitch or for the kit, for the body of the kit and the arms. There's a black and white template that comes with every download, and you can print that off, and then you can colour in with crayons and pens and whatever you enjoy colouring in with. But anyway, we've cut the pitch. Let's get back to the instructions. We've cut the pitch, and now we're making some folds. There's a couple of folds at either end that we need to make. So here's the other end. You can see those dotted lines, or those I don't know what else called. What do you call dotted lines, or dashed lines, I suppose. But anyway, we've folded along those. There's only a few to make, and then you can see that it's sort of the end there curls round, so we get a nice curve to the pitch. Now, before we stick it together, it's handy to sort of make the curve of the pitch by just gently bending each end of the pitch. You can see there it's bent the paper around, and then we can stick it down. Otherwise, you if you don't bend it before you stick it, then it gets a bit tricky. You can bend it as much or as little as you like. I should probably bend it a little bit more. I think you'll be able to be the judge of that when you see what it looks like once it's all stuck together. You can still make a bit of a bend to it, but you can so you can make a nice sort of like straight, make it nice and straight down there. But you can see it's just the pitch just bends around and folding and bending the paper so that it'll go around and make a nice curve. And you can even roll the paper around a pencil. That makes a nice curve to this as well. So yeah, feel free to pause the video and make the curve. I'm just sort of like rattling through this so that the video's a little bit shorter and more efficient for your viewing. But even with a quick sort of bend and fold of the paper, you get a nice little curve there. And that's our paper toy character rugby stand pitch all made. Nice and neat there. Now it just needs to be finished off with the posts. Now, we'll start with one of the long posts, and you can see right there we've got those dashed, dotted, outlined lines as to where we need to make those folds. Now, take your time, and you can see I've done this fold in two separate bits. I've just bent the paper around until I'm happy that that line is going to be straight, and then I've just pressed that crease down between my thumb and finger. It's a lot easier with those smaller folds, those tabs on the very end. But again, for the longer ones, you can see here that I'm just making bend at the end there, right along those dotted lines, those outlined lines, and then at the other end, and then just firming it up between my thumb and fingers so we get a nice straight fold. Got a few more to do. We've got some tabs at the end of the post that'll tuck inside the post. You'll see what I mean when we start to shape it and stick it together. And then we've got, I think this is the last fold that we need to make. Just go back over it and make sure that all your folds are done. But you see those tabs there, those longer tabs, they're going to tuck inside to give the post a bit more stability. And there you can see, right in the middle, we'll get a better look at it when we've done the crossbar. maybe also in a minute as well, that hole where we're going to slot the crossbar in. However, for now we've moved on to sticking, and we've got a little bit of tape down at the on one side of the post, then on the other side of that the crossbar hole, I'm going to put another bit of tape. Stick half of it on one side, line it up, and then fold, and bend it round so that it sticks together. Got a couple of tabs on either end of the post, tuck one inside the other, and then a little bit of tape just on the end there. We'll seal that off. And then at the top end, so this bit is the top end, you'll notice that there's a little tab that tucks in, and then there's a little curve to the end of the post as well. We'll see that once I put this little tab there. There you can see the hole where the crossbar is going to slot in. And then here you can see the very top end of that has a little curve to the end of the post. Exactly the same with this post. Make all your folds. I'm doing all the little folds first on this one, and then those longer folds, I have to do them in sort of a couple of 2 or 3 different stages. I'm able to do them in a couple, but yeah, take your time with those longer folds. Try and get it right along those dotted lines so you get those nice long folds for the post. These next couple are a bit easier because they're broken up by that by the hole for the crossbar that I keep going on about, but we will get there. You'll see exactly what it's for very soon, within the next 5 minutes of this video. But yeah, we've made all our folds on the second of our long posts. Took those tabs in, and we're ready to stick it together. A little bit of tape down the bottom here. Tuck it in, make sure everything's nice and straight before you bend the tape over. And stick one side to the other. And the same above that crossbar hole. Line things up, stick half the tape down on one side. Just check you've got everything nicely lined up. And then when you do, you can bend that bit of tape around as well. Doing the top end first this time. So there's a little tab that tucks in just at the copyright sign on the post, and then you get a nice little curve at the top of the post. Tiny bit of tape going on the top there just to hold it together. And then those 2 tabs that are at the bottom, one tucks inside the other one, and we can get a little bit of tape along the bottom there. There we go, there's our 2 posts. And to finish that, to join those together, this is our crossbar. So again, some longer folds at the top there. Bend the paper around and pinch it together along those dotted lines. One final long one. And then we're just bending over those smaller tabs at either end. And there's the other end. And then we can bend everything round, and then there's that long tab to tuck inside. So we've got the logo showing on the back of the posts. Take your time, line things up, and then fold and bend your tape over. We can do the same at either end here as well. Tuck one tab inside of the other. A little bit of tape on the end there, like so. Same at the other end. Tuck one tab over the other. And a little bit of tape on the end like so. And then one end of the crossbar, is going to tuck in to that hole on one of the posts, like so. And then the other end is going to go on the other post, like so. So we get that H shape for the rugby posts. Now the hole still needs it still needs a bit of securing at the join between the posts. So a little bit of tape on either side will make that happen, make it nice and neat. And then the same for the other post as well. There we go, we get our nice H shape. And yes, the posts look longer at the bottom than they should, but remember that's going to get stuck into the pitch. So a bit of the bottom of those posts are going to disappear. However, we'll just quickly fold up the post pads. You can see those dotted outlined lines that we'll just bend and fold over. There's sort of, it looks like there's going to be 5 sides to this, but remember one of the 5 sides is actually the tab that tucks inside like so. Hold that together with one hand, and with our handy dandy tape dispenser we can peel off a bit of tape and stick that round with our other free hand, and those are going to go over the post like so. I'm not going to stick the pads to the post, as you'll see in a moment once we've done the second one. There's 1 fold, 2 folds, 3 folds, and we've got 1 more for where the tab is. Remember that tab tucks inside the other end, so we get a nice sort of like bit of a loop and a nice join, so there's not a gap in between there. Nice little bit of tape to join our loop together for our other pad, which will go on our other post, like so. Okay, now we're not going to stick those pads to the post because we're going to push our posts through those holes that we made. Now it takes a little bit of fiddling. You might want to make your holes a little bit bigger, or like I'm doing here, just sort of hold onto the pitch and gently push through 1 post at a time. It's a little bit fiddly, but you'll get there in the end. Try and be nice and gentle. Try not to squish or crush your posts too much, but you can see them, they're coming through there, okay? And then it'll line up with the bottom of the pitch, and we can see that we've got our pitch and our posts all made and ready for our paper toy rugby player to come and stand on and be presented on. Yes, the player's bigger than the posts, which isn't quite like real life, but hey. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.